I'm going to say something that's going to make a lot of you uncomfortable. And good, because discomfort is the only thing that ever made anyone change. I opened my DMs this morning, 87 messages. Let me guess what you think they were. Potential clients, partners, high value conversations? No, 86 of them were confessions. Confessions of neediness disguised as professional outreach. I want you to think about something. When you send a message that starts with just reaching out, what are you actually saying? You're saying I have nothing valuable to offer, but I'm hoping you'll be nice to me because I'm polite. You're saying I'm scared of taking up space in your brain, so I'll make myself small so you don't feel threatened. You're saying I'm vendor energy, I'm replaceable, I'm the person you forget about 2 seconds after reading this. And the worst part, you know it, you felt it the moment you hit send. That little drop in your stomach, that voice that said, they're probably not going to respond. That voice was right. Guy reaches out, he sends me this message. Hi Vishal, loved your post about system architecture. Just reaching out to see if you'd be open to a quick chat about how you think about pipeline building. No pressure, just curious about your perspective. You know what I felt when I read that? Nothing. Zero. No emotion, no curiosity, no desire to respond because there was nothing to grab onto, nothing that made me think this person has something I need to hear. Here's what he was actually saying. I'm smart enough to know you have value, but I'm too insecure to tell you why I deserve access to it. So I'll use generic words and hope you're in generous mood. That's not a strategy, that's a prayer. Now, contrast that with this. I get a message from another founder 2 days later. He writes, Vishal, I saw your post on operational leverage. My CTO is taking 6 hours a day doing work that should be automated. My pipeline is leaking 200 grand a month. I need to know if you can find the structural rot or I need to burn the whole thing down and rebuild it. I'll send you my full tech stack and a breakdown of my team. Tell me if it's fixable or I'm screwed. You know what I felt when I read that? Respect, because he wasn't asking for permission, he wasn't asking for a quick chat, he wasn't trying to be polite. He gave me the problem, he gave me the stakes, he gave me the authority to tell him the truth. That's asymmetrical framing. That's someone who understands that the person with the biggest problem is the one who sets the terms. The just reaching out founder, he's still waiting for my response, probably sent a follow-up, probably got ignored again. The second guy, we are working together now. Not because I'm special, because he understood the game. He understood that soft openers are a confession of neediness. And neediness repels high value people like garlic repels vampires. Let me break this down for you because I think you need to hear it. Here's the structural truth. When you send a message with a soft opener, you're structurally positioning yourself as lower status because you're asking for something. You're asking for time, for attention, for a response. And when you ask something from someone who didn't know you existed 5 seconds ago, you're already in a deficit. The second guy, he didn't ask for anything. He gave me something. He gave me a problem to solve. He gave me an opportunity to demonstrate expertise. He gave me a reason to care. That's asymmetrical framing. That's making yourself valuable before you've even had a conversation. It's the difference between can I have 5 minutes of your time and here's the problem worth $5,000 of your attention. Tell me if I'm right. See the difference. One is a question, other is a statement. One is a request, other is an opportunity. One says I need you, other says you might need me. And here's the thing that's going to piss you off. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. You felt it every time you sent a message you knew was too soft. Every time you second guessed your wordings. Every time you spent 10 minutes perfecting a DM that you knew was just going to get ignored. You knew and you sent it anyway because you were scared. Scared of sounding arrogant, scared of asking for too much, scared of coming across as pushy. Meanwhile, the people you are messaging, the high value people you want to talk to, they're not scared, they're not afraid of being too direct, they're not worried about whether their message will be interpreted the wrong guy. They just say what they need to say and they let people who can't handle it fall away. Which brings me to my next point. Let's talk about the quick question. What is it about the words quick question that makes grown professionals turn into apologetic children? I have a quick question about your service. Just quick question. But what's your process like? Quick question. Do you work with companies like mine? Every single one of those questions is the same. I don't think my problem is important enough to take up real space in your brain. So I'll try to minimize it. Please respond to me despite the fact that even I don't think I matter. That's what quick question means. It means I'm not confident enough to ask for what I actually want, so I'll pretend it's small, so you'll feel bad for ignoring me. And guess what? It works, but not in a way you think. It works because the person on the other end reads your quick question and immediately categorize you as low value, not worth real attention, someone who doesn't understand their own worth. And you know what they do next? They ignore you, or they respond with a one sentence answer that gives you nothing. And you sit there wondering what you did wrong. Here's what you did wrong. You acted like your problem didn't matter. You acted like the person you were connecting was doing you a favor by existing. You acted like you were lucky to even be in their DMs. And they smelled it like blood in the water. Let me tell you what the alternative looks like, because if I just tell you what you're doing wrong and don't give you the structural fix, I'm wasting your time, and that's not what I do. Alternative 1, problem statement approach. Instead of, "Hi, loved your post, quick question about your approach to client acquisition." Try this: "Vishal, saw your framework on pipeline architecture. We are leaving 400k on the table because our CRO team doesn't speak to ops. I mapped out the leak, need 15 minutes to confirm if the fix is structural or technical. Tell me which one I'm missing." See what just happened there? I told you who I am. I told you what the problem is. I told what's the stake. I gave you a specific diagnosis and I asked for a specific response. I didn't ask for your time. I asked for your judgment. That's difference. That's higher status. Alternative 2, the prepaid value approach. So instead of, "Would love to pick your brain about how you scale operations." Try this: "I've been studying your content for 6 weeks, implemented 3 of your frameworks, said 7 hours per week on team management. We are still hitting a wall with this problem. Wanted to send you this breakdown of what we are trying and ask if you can spot the 2 assumptions I'm making wrong." That's asymmetrical because 1, you've demonstrated you're actually paying attention, not just generic flattery. 2, you already taken action. You're not waiting for permission. 3, you've given something of value, feedback on their work. 4, you're asking for a specific, small piece of their expertise. That's not a quick question, that's the signal. Alternative 3, the challenge frame. This one is my favorite. Instead of, "I'd love to learn about how you improve your conversion rates." Try this: "I studied your methods, implemented it, got good results, but I'm struggling with one specific aspect. I think there's a hole in the framework when it comes to XYZ objection. I've written out my reasoning. I want to know if I'm missing something or if the framework needs to evolve. Prepare to defend it." Now that gets a response because it's not asking for help, it's challenging the framework. It's engaging at the level of an equal, not a supplicant. It's saying, "I respect enough to argue with you." And you know what happens when you send a message like that? The person read it twice, they read it a third time, they forward it to their team, and then they respond. Not with a one sentence brush off, with an actual engagement because you have earned it. Now let me tell you something that's going to hurt. You already know everything I just told you. You've known it for years. You felt cringe when you hit send on a weak message. You felt relief when someone actually responds, despite your low energy opener. You've told yourself, if it works this time, so maybe it's fine. It's not fine. It's never been fine. You're a founder. You build things. You solve problems. You manage teams. You create value from nothing. And yet you send messages like a corporate middle manager who is scared of their own boss. Because somewhere along the way you convinced yourself that you're an imposter, that the people you want to talk to are somehow above you, that you're lucky to even be in their orbit. Bullshit. The person you are messaging, the high value founder who has everything figured out, they're not above you, they're just ahead of you by a few months, maybe a year. And the only reason they are ahead because they stopped apologizing for existing. They send messages that demand respect, not because they are arrogant, because they know what they have to offer is worth something. And the message they send, it's not a quick question, it's a statement of position. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I want. Here's what I need from you. Tell me if you can help. If not, I'll find someone else who can. Let me give you the playbook because theory is useless without application. The asymmetrical outreach framework has 4 components. Use these every time without exception. Component 1, the audit statement. You gave them something they can't argue with. Not, "I love your post about systems," but your post on system architecture identified 3 structural issues we've been struggling with for 18 months. See, you're not flattering, you're testifying. You're telling them their work actually matters. Component 2, the specific problem. You don't use generic language, not, "We are trying to scale." But this, "Our current architecture is leaking $47,000 a month because our sales team and delivery team are speaking different languages. We are losing deals at the proposal stage because no one knows what we actually promise." Numbers specify consequences. That's the language of high value people. Component 3, what you've already done. This is where most people fail. They ask for help without showing any effort. When you send a message that says, "How do I fix this?" you're asking someone to do your thinking for you. But when you say, "I've tried X, Y, and Z. Here's what I think is going wrong. Here's what I need from you," you're asking for expert judgment. One is a burden, the other is an opportunity. You're not going to get hired by being a burden. You're going to get hired by being someone who solves problems. Component 4, the specific ask. The ask is hardest part. Not can we chat, not do you have time, not I'd love to pick your brain. Those questions are for charity. The specific ask is, here's what I need you to confirm. Am I missing a structural issue or is this just a tactical execution problem? I've attached my breakdown. I need you to tell me which one is it. And if I'm wrong, tell me what the actual issue is. That's not asking for time, that's asking for judgment. Big difference. Let me tell you why you're still using soft openers. You're afraid of being rejected. No, it's worse than that. You're afraid of being seen as someone who reaches too high, someone who takes up too much space, someone who's too aggressive. You've internalized the corporate bullshit that says, be humble, be polite, wait your turn. That's the mindset of an employee. Employees ask for permission. Employees ask for favors. Employees apologize for existing. Founders don't. Founders say what they want. Founders ask for what they need. Founders tell people what the problem is and what they can do about it. I'm not saying be rude. I'm saying be direct. I'm not saying be arrogant. I'm saying be clear. There's a difference between being a dick and being someone who knows their value. Here's something that's going to change how you think about this. High value people get 500 messages a day. 500 minimum. You think they're going to remember the guy who said, hey, great post, quick question. No, they've forgotten you before they've finished reading the message. But the person who says, I see the hole in your framework and I can prove it, the person gets remembered, the person gets forward to the team, the person becomes the person they respond to. The scarcity isn't in your problem, the scarcity is in their attention. And you're competing for that attention against 499 other people who are just as eager, just as polite, and just as forgettable. So ask yourself, are you going to be message that gets skimmed and deleted? Or are you going to be message that gets read twice? The choice is yours, but the methodology isn't a secret. It's just not comfortable. Let me tell you what happens when you send asymmetrical outreach. Because I've seen it play out hundreds of times. You send the message, your heart's pounding a little. You've never sent anything like this before. You're not sure if it's going to land. Then 7 minutes later, your phone lights up. It's them. They're responding. What makes you think the issue is structural rather than tactical? I've seen your breakdown. Send me your thinking on why you'd recommend a system replacement over a fix. You know what just happened? You got promoted. In their mind, you're no longer a vendor. You're no longer a prospect. You're no longer someone they are helping. You became a peer, a collaborator, someone who's thinking at the level they are. And that's the moment everything changes, because instead of them trying to see if you're worth their time, they're now trying to see if they can get value from you. The table have turned. You're no longer chasing. You're being engaged. I'm going to tell you something that's going to sound counterintuitive. You should only send messages that makes you a little bit uncomfortable. If it's comfortable, it's forgettable. If it's polite, it's ineffective. If it's generic, it's gone. The message that works, the one that get responses, the one that lead to actual conversations, they make your stomach flip a little. You don't know how they're going to land. You're not sure if the person on the other side is going to think you're arrogant or pushy or out of line. But here's the thing, the people who are worth talking to, they appreciate directness, they appreciate clarity, they appreciate someone who can articulate the problem and what it cost. They don't appreciate quick questions. So be unforgettable, send the message that feels risky. Because risk of sending a high value message is nothing compared to the cost of sending 87 low value messages and getting ignored by all of them. The cost of being forgettable is the only cost that matters. Here's your signal for today. If you've ever sent a message that started with just reaching out, loved your post, or quick question, and felt that cringe as you hit send, stop it. Delete the apology from your vocabulary. Remove the minimization. Stop asking for permission to exist in someone else's attention. Instead, state the problem. Name the stakes. Show what you have already done. Ask for specific judgment. Build your own chair. Sit where you want. Don't explain yourself to people who've never held a saw.